We're going to look at an example of a school setting and applying data decision rules as a part of their standard protocol for interventions. Building data decision rules is a part of the first three steps for the work of building an effective intervention system. As you've seen, to have an effective intervention system, we need universal screening, an intervention matrix, and data decision rules. We will quickly review this school team's work up to this point and then join the team for their work in applying some data analysis and data decision rules. What we see here is this school has completed steps 1, 2, and 3 by determining that they're going to do some universal screening. They're utilizing attendance and behavior recommendations set by the state. They're using DIBELS for literacy in 4th grade and the NC measures in math for 4th grade. In step 2, we see that this school has developed intervention matrices for grades 3 through 5. In attendance, they're using school-wide strategies, home contact, and a staff mentor. In behavior, they're using a standard intervention of check-in, check-out. In literacy, they're using an intervention called Just Words. And in math, they're using an intervention called Do the Math. In step 3, we see this school has attacked the difficult task of making some data decision rules or intervention entry rules. We'll see that here that they've determined that students who are at risk in attendance will immediately enter an attendance intervention, and those students who are at risk in attendance and behavior will immediately enter an attendance and a behavior intervention. But these students who are at risk in attendance will not enter an academic intervention until attempts in attendance intervention are made. Students who are at risk in behavior will enter that check-in and check-out during the winter, and then students who are at risk in academic areas only, or academic areas and behavior, will enter academic intervention as long as they're not at risk in attendance. We'll come back and revisit that decision a little bit later. And then you'll see they further define some intervention entry rules for math. So the math risk is defined by the universal screener, the NCs, in the category of high need for increased math opportunities is what's dictating risk here. In intervention entry, they will take 24 students who are at risk by first applying the data decision rules you see above and then determining the students who are most at risk. So those 3 steps have been already tackled by this school, and now we're going to take a closer look at them applying steps 5 through 10 of an effective intervention system, which is actually applying this work. So we've quickly reviewed our first steps in building an intervention system, and here we see a representation of step 4, or collecting universal data. So this school is using the state guidance for screening in attendance and behavior, and is using DIBELS for literacy and the NCs for math. Here we see some 4th grade universal screening results for the winter, and they're displayed using the Universal Screening Results tool. The Universal Screening Results tool is an Excel file that's available on the NCMTSS Live Finder and can assist with displaying screening data consistent with an early warning system. What you see here is names of students, teacher names, days of school absent, numbers of office discipline referrals, all of which can be pulled from PowerSchool. The columns of at-risk in literacy and at-risk in math are dichotomized, either a yes or a no of risk, and they must be entered by the user. In this example, the team used the risk levels associated with universal screening with DIBELS for the literacy column and the risk levels associated with the NCs for math. The risk in attendance and risk in behavior columns automatically calculated based on some hidden formulas, and then it gives an overall indicator of is this student meeting at least one of the risk factors you see there. So when we think about kind of our next step for the work, an example of step 5 is a school leadership team might review this data. The leadership team would review this aggregate data for 4th grade along with other grade levels. So just a quick note of what we see here is that we see 95% of students exhibiting at least one risk factor in this grade level. We see 64% of students who are at risk in attendance, and we also see 62% of our students at risk in math. When we see a grade level like this with a lot of risk, it's easy to be frozen or scared by the daunting task that we have at hand, which is shoring up core while providing intervention. And another gut reaction might just be to provide intervention to all students. And this is a risk to dilute both core and intervention. So it's imperative that we have data decision rules at this point so we can follow them, so we can actually provide help to students who are showing us need. So here we see the school has assessed risks and done some prioritizing with interventions. The first data decision rule or intervention entry rule this team will apply is students who are at risk in attendance. And as you see there, that's the students will immediately enter the attendance intervention, and students who are at risk in attendance and or behavior will enter that check-in and check-out. It's important to note that this team recognizes they are forced to prioritize when it comes to academic interventions as they work to address issues of school engagement and culture. They've then determined that students will enter academic interventions if they are at risk only in academics or at risk in academics and behavior. So let's take a look at how this team has actually determined the set of students who would receive interventions. So we'll dig a little further into our data to apply our intervention entry rules, exactly which students meet what conditions. So this is essentially steps 5 to 7 of our steps for the work document. And first we'll be using the results tab of our universal screening results tool down here. And we'll use this by sorting and filtering to see which students are actually at risk. So we do this by filtering the at-risk column to find the students who are yes at risk. So once we've filtered for our students who are at risk, our next step is we're going to find the students who are at risk in attendance. On the results tab, we'll filter for students who are at risk in attendance. So the way that we do that is we just hover over where it says attendance and filter, use this little filter button, and we would sort for the students who are Y or yes in attendance. And that filter is going to find us the 64 students who we saw on our summary page who are at risk in attendance. All of these students will enter the attendance intervention protocol along with our school-wide efforts to increase attendance. And from there, teams can use the filter feature to determine which of those students who would also be in need of a behavior intervention. A step after that is to find the students who are going to enter our math intervention. For this step, we'll use the filter feature to find the group of students who are not at risk in attendance, but who are at risk in math. So we would use our filter buttons here to look first at attendance and select N for students who are not at risk in attendance, and then use our filter button for math to determine the students who are yes at risk in math. And when we apply those two filters, we find that the group of 24 students, there's a group of 24 students who meet that intervention entry rule in math. This is the number of students that is the same as the number of students who we can support in a math intervention. However, if the number was greater than the 24 students we could support in math intervention, we could use our NC results to further identify the set of students who meet the intervention entry rules. So we'll just take a look at that very quickly. This is the summary of the NC data, and to find the students who are showing the most risk, what we would do is sort our composite score from least to greatest to find the set of students who are showing the most risk. So to review what we've just taken a look at, is this school has a universal screening system, they have intervention matrices, and they have data decision rules. And what we've just seen is how schools actually apply those data decision rules to come up with the sets of students or the groups of students who would actually receive intervention in a standard protocol in the areas of attendance, behavior, literacy, and math.